Town of Clayton Planning Board meeting to order. For roll call, it looks like all of the board members are present this evening. And I see we do have an adjustment to the agenda.
Yes, good evening. Samantha Woolen-Weber, Planning Director. I request to move the 2020-112 RZ, the Country Lane rezoning, to the next regular Planning Board meeting on September 28, 2020. That was at the request of the applicant. And that is the only adjustment to the agenda I have this evening.
Thank you. We will move on to item number 3, approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes needed? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve minutes as written.
Motion to approve by Board Member Coates. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Powers. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is 4A, old business, 2020-97-RZ Champion East rezoning. Just a reminder that we did hear this item at last month's planning board meeting and deliberated, and because of the rules in place for COVID-19, we will be doing the voting at this meeting here tonight. But we will first hear from staff.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Board. My name is Jeff Keynes, planner with the town of Clayton. This is a carryover from when we were doing Zoom meetings. Tonight is for final deliberation and recommendation. This is a rezone for a property on Champion Street, and it's hard to see the before and the back because I guess I'm try my glasses on. It is a request to rezone a parcel from O&I and single-family R8 to R6. The property is approximately 1.8 acres in size. It's currently vacant, and as you can see by the aerial photograph, it's on the northeast corner of Champion and Everett Street. Above is a current zoning map of the two current zones on the parcel, the top being O&I in the blue, and the orange is the R8. Below is a red of R6 is what the applicant is proposing at this time. Here's a current street view of the parcel that is currently vacant. And during staff analysis, we have concluded that it is consistent with their comprehensive plan and compatibility. If it is rezoned, it would meet the high-density residential community center standards for this. And I do identify the goals, objectives, and strategies that are based on the comprehensive plan. And finally, staff does recommend approval of the rezoning request. As you stated at the beginning of the hearing, the planning board did continue this from the last time to have a 24-hour comment period, and tonight would be a recommendation to the town council. That concludes the staff report. I'll answer any questions if the planning board has any.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for staff? If not, we can call upon the applicant, or is that applicable in this case? No, we don't need to call, unless I guess there are questions for the applicant. Okay, any public comments for this that we need to consider? Then if not, I will turn it over to the board for their consideration or a motion. Any comments from the board? Looks like none, so I will entertain a motion. Again, this is to recommend approval of the proposed rezoning to town council.
Motion to approve 2020-97-RZ rezoning.
That was Chair or Board Member Powers. We have a motion. Do I have a second? Let's see. Board Member Price can be our second there. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Next,
I will say one thing before any of the parties come in related to an item. Let's hold all presentation and any sort of comments until everybody gets inside and gets seated, just so they can hear the full presentation as well.
Absolutely. So let's see, we're on to item 5A. And so we'll just wait until Samantha gets back here.
One second. Okay, we're ready.
Okay, we have item 5A, public hearing, 2020-56-VAR, European Touch of Beauty HC ramp setback variance. We will now hear from staff.
Hi, Merrick Parrott, counsel for the town of Clayton. Apologies. Before staff jumps in, I'd just like to say a few words about quasi-judicial hearings such as this variance. Quasi-judicial hearings such as this variance are, essentially the planning board will be acting as a court of law. There's a burden that the applicant for variance meet the criteria found in the town's Unified Development Code. Anyone opposed to the application must put on evidence of a similar kind showing the criteria have not been met. Testimony must be given under oath. All testimony and evidence provided to the board must be competent, material, and substantial. Pursuant to the North Carolina General Statutes, competent evidence does not include opinion testimony of lay witnesses on certain matters. Hearsay evidence will not be admitted. The board will apply the criteria contained in the Unified Development Code and make its decision based on the evidence and testimony presented at the hearing. My role during the hearing is to monitor all evidence and testimony to ensure that it complies with North Carolina law, the town's codes and procedures, and all other applicable requirements. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. Now we will hear from staff.
Actually, Christy, can you administer the oath?
So anybody wishes to speak, please stand. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give is true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Anyone you are on the to the podium, please sign that off and sign the sheet.
And the pens and the cup are clean hands. You said, put it on the table, I'll clean them.
Good evening, Board. Haley Hogue, Senior Planner. This request is for a variance for the European Touch of Beauty. The variance is from a side setback to allow for the construction of a commercial handicap ramp on the subject property. The property is located at 209 Champion Street. The applicant is True Line Surveying, and the property is currently zoned Highway Business B3. So this is the proposed site plan, a snippet of it at least. They have submitted a minor site plan that is under review by our technical review committee. This site formerly was a single-family home, and they are now converting it to a commercial use in accordance with the zoning district. So they are proposing a day spa, and we are going through the site plan review for that. One of the items that came up during that review was that they needed to provide ADA handicap ramp on the site. And so that is what they are proposing, that you can see in yellow highlighted on this site plan. Right now, the B3 setback requirement for the side property is 15 feet. The current structure on the site does not meet that requirement already. It is 4.5 feet off the property line. And then the proposed side setback for the handicap ramp is 5.28 inches. So they are going from requesting a variance for a 5.28-inch setback for the side property instead of 15 feet to meet ADA requirements. And this is a view of the property from the street. As you can see, it looks very much like a single-family residence. Like I said, they are going through site plan approvals, so they are adding parking, and with that, some modifications to the building, such as the ADA handicap ramp. And the applicant has addressed the findings of fact outlined in the staff report and in the application, and staff does not make recommendations on quasi-judicial applications. I can answer any questions that you may have, and the applicant's here as well to speak.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff? Yes, sir.
Hello, I just had a question. Do we know what kind of materials that ramp would be made out of? Is it wood or masonry?
I do not know, but the applicant might be able to give you that information.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you. If not, we will call upon the applicant.
Oh, see? There we go.
You ready?
Cross-contaminate all the pins. Hey, good evening, board. Kurt Lane here, answering any questions you may have. I think there's one on the table. Just to reiterate, this is an existing conditions, single-family residential home that is going to be converted into a B3 business. So the question on the table is the ramp going to be made out of a wooden structure or masonry? Right now it's planned to be wood.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for the applicant this evening? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comments on this matter? If not, I will turn it over to the board for their consideration. I will just chime in here. We do have, I believe everyone has a copy of the variance sheet. Is that correct? And if memory serves me correct, we do need to go through each finding of fact. So I was just going to point that out as well, and that's also laid out in the staff report. For my part, I'm going to just go ahead and chime in that looking through these various findings, to me, the business that they're trying to put in place there matches the zoning. And so it's more of inheriting kind of a property layout problem and trying to kind of work with that. And for me, they're doing the best that they possibly can with that scenario. And so looking at the various issues here that, you know, I would vote in favor of being flexible on that and allowing that to move forward regardless of the setback requirements.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion from Board Member Coates. Is there a second?
Second.
Board Member Powers? Oh, sorry, it's so hard to tell. Second by Board Member Bizzle. Just a quick procedural question. Do we need to read the findings of fact for the record?
Yes, please.
Okay. And is that me or whoever makes the motion? Does it?
Whoever made the motion.
Okay, so Board Member Coates, if you wouldn't mind.
Motion is based on the following findings. Number one, unnecessary hardship does result from the strict application of the ordinance. Two, the hardship results from the conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, and topography. Three, the hardship did not result from action taken by the applicant or the property owner. And four, the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance, such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved.
Thank you. So we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
I think it's the back.
Said in the minutes.
Oh, did it say about the
It
back?
said facing Horn Street from the council. That's what it said.
Yeah.
It didn't say Fayetteville Street.
Strange new world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 5B, Public Hearing 2020-91-CUP, Debbie's In-Home Daycare Conditional Use Permit. Do we need to hear from the attorney first?
Unfortunately, I would say yes, because we do have at least one new member of the public here.
Sure.
I'll make it quick. A conditional use permit hearing is quasi-judicial in nature, which means that the planning board acts essentially as a court of law. There is a burden that the applicant for a conditional use permit meet the criteria found in the town's Unified Development Code. Anyone opposed to the application must put on evidence of a similar kind, showing the criteria have not been met. Testimony must be given under oath. All testimony and evidence provided to the board must be competent, material, and substantial in nature. Pursuant to the North Carolina General Statutes, competent evidence does not include opinion testimony of lay witnesses on certain matters. Hearsay evidence will not be admitted. The board will apply the criteria contained in the Unified Development Code and make its decision based on the evidence and testimony presented tonight at the hearing. My role during the hearing is to monitor all evidence and testimony to ensure that it complies with North Carolina law, the town's codes and procedures, and all other applicable requirements.
Thank you very much. And do we need to administer oaths as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody wishing to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
When you go to the podium, please sign the signage.
Whenever, after she presents, and then you can go out there and talk, and the pens in the cup are clean. And if you want to talk, just sign that sheet, okay?
Thank you. We'll hear from staff.
Good evening, Board. Sharon Sharp, planner with the Town of Clayton. I'm here to present the 2020-91 conditional use permit for Debbie's In-Home Daycare. As you know, under the Unified Development Code for the Town of Clayton, a in-home daycare is a permitted use by conditional use. The applicant, Ms. Debbie Finch, has requested this application. The property is single-family, and it is located at 2908 Brittany Drive in the Brittany Woods subdivision. And as you can see from the area location, it is off of Barber Mill Road. The applicant's proposing to provide daycare for children Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the maximum under the Unified Development Code is for 6 children. At this time, she will not have any other employees. She will be the primary caregiver of this daycare. In addition to that, as you can see from this site plan, under the code, we needed to find out how, in fact, parents would, in fact, drop their children off. You can see from this layout that there is a driveway off of Brittany Drive that the parents will drop their children off as well as picking them up there. The applicant has submitted findings of facts, and this is a view from the street of the property. At this time, under the code, she is only proposing to utilize 20% of the space. The structure is about 1,200 square feet, so she will be using a portion of her living room, a portion of her kitchen. She is not proposing to do any type of alterations to the structure, exterior or interior, and the potential will be for a small playground structure at the back of the property. As you can see in your paperwork, this is consistent with the comp plan for single-family R8 subdivision, and she has submitted all the questions and answered those findings of facts. Staff does not make recommendations on final decisions for quasi-judicial applications. However, you will see in there that she has complied with the recommendations that staff has put forth in your packets. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Are there any questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to speak?
If you would like to speak.
I don't really have anything to say.
Okay.
That's absolutely fine. Let's see, are there any public comments to consider? If not, I will turn it over to the board for their consideration. And once again, just point out that we do have the findings of fact, and we also have those explained in the staff report along with a list of conditions of approval. Just wanted to mention that as well. Any comments from the board?
I'm sorry, I had one question. Do we know, is there a homeowners association for this community? Thank you.
Would we need her to sign in for answering that, or?
Yes, please, if you wouldn't mind, thank you.
You clean even more, Samantha.
I know it's a short answer, but if you could say the answer into the microphone for the record, that would be great.
There is no homeowners association.
Thank you. Comments from the board? I, for one, looked it over, and I think it fits with this area of town. I feel like we do need, as Clayton is growing, other options, and I felt like the findings of fact were met as I kind of looked through it. Happy to hear from the rest of you as well. Hearing no other comments, I will entertain a motion. Don't be afraid. I know it's a lot of reading, but
I'll take a step.
we have a motion to approve by Board Member Bizzle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is that motion to approve with conditions?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm just can't hear very well up here.
And they, just to clarify, they are the conditions as laid out in the staff report? Mr. Bizzle?
Yes. So after considering the competent material and substantial evidence presented, including the application of materials of record, I move to approve. This motion is based on the following findings. Number one, the application will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed. and developed according to the plans as submitted and approved. Number 2, the application meets all required specifications and conforms to the standards and practices of sound land use planning and the town code of ordinances or other applicable regulations. The application will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property and will not be detrimental to the use or development of adjacent properties or other neighborhood uses. The application will not adversely affect the adopted plans and policies of the town or violate the character of existing standards for the development of the adjacent properties.
Let's see, could we have that, do we need to state all the conditions or?
No, just stating that it's subject to the conditions as laid out in the staff report is sufficient.
Thank you. We have a first, or a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Board Member Powers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Oh, yes, sir. Excellent. Might as well, yeah. Oh, knock it out. Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Is it any of the open chairs? You can sit, well, I said, technically. Should be good. Is my one right there too? I know it's like musical chairs, I don't have one. All right, we're good.
The next item on the agenda is 5C, Public Hearing 2020-103-PDD Lumen Planned Development Rezoning. Do we hear from the staff attorney first?
Just from staff, this is not a quasi judicial, it's a legislative matter.
Thank you.
Haley Hoag, Senior Planner. This request is for the Lumen Plan Development rezoning. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property from residential estate to planned development mixed use. The properties in total are 68.26 acres in size, and they are located off of Highway 42, adjacent to 70 Bypass, and right across from Spring Branch Medical Park. And then the southern portion of the larger tract is located to the south of 70 Bypass. And the existing uses are single-family and agricultural. This is the current zoning compared to the proposed rezoning. You can see the parcels right now are all zoned RE, and they are proposing to rezone them all to PDMU, which would actually be consistent with what's located to the north, which is Spring Branch Medical Park, and that is also a planned development. And this is the associated master plan. It was included in your agenda packets for informational purposes only. Planning board tonight is only making a recommendation on the rezoning application. The master plan is a quasi-judicial application as it is a preliminary plat application, and it will be reviewed by the town council for final decision. And the master plan will outline the permitted uses and the dimensional standards for the site. They did submit a traffic study as well, and that is currently under review by town staff and also in CDOT. And this plan is not yet TRC certified, so it is subject to change prior to proceeding to town council. Overall, the rezoning request is consistent with the future land use map designation. Most of the properties are designated as high-density residential and community center. The southern portion of the larger tract, south of 70 Bypass, is currently designated as medium-density residential and rural residential, but it is worth noting that the uses permitted are dictated by the associated master plan, so staff still does support the rezoning request. And it is also consistent with goal LU1 of the Comprehensive Plan 2040 to preserve Clayton's small town character while allowing for growth and development in appropriate areas. And it is also consistent with the surrounding land uses, which are commercial and residential. So tonight, Planning Board will make a recommendation on the rezoning request. And again, the master plan is not being reviewed tonight and will proceed to Town Council in the future for final decision. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And the applicant also has a presentation prepared.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Yes, sir.
Is this particular piece of property in the small use plan,
A small area plan, yes.
small area plan for the hospital? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Okay, then we will call upon the applicant.
McLean, the podium in between each person.
Hold on, let me pull this up.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Haley and commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you tonight. I'm Richard Brown, land planner and landscape architect with Kimley Horn, and here to represent the project that is Lumen. Appreciate the opportunity to do that. Just really privileged and excited to bring forth a rezoning that will allow for a high mixed use, a high quality mixed use project in really a key part of the town. And with me tonight, and I will try to keep Samantha from having to come in and clean between everyone. I'll speak and represent the project, and if there are questions at the tail end, then we'd be glad to answer those. With me tonight is Craig Davis with Davis Park Leasing, representing the property ownership that is included in this rezoning packet. Dean Penny, who some of you may recognize, hometown boy, as well as with the consultant team with me tonight, Stephanie Hatcham, and then Travis Fluitt, traffic engineer. So between all of us, we should be able to cover any questions that you have. But again, just appreciate the opportunity to bring this project to this board, and look forward to the opportunity to take it through approval. And ultimately development of the property. Is Haley did a very thorough job of putting out really the salient points of the rezoning application. As noted, we are coming in, essentially our summary is pretty simple. We're trying to take it from a residential estate zoning to a planned development mixed use. As she mentioned, there is a master plan process that's running parallel to this one that has some of the details of the plan within it. As noted, that will go forward to council for approval. I just wanted to really tag along to her presentation and just underscore a few things, not really add a lot, but just underscore the consistencies with the town's comp plan policies, starting with the future land use map that does designate this as a community, neighborhood community district, and sort of zooming in on where we are with that, with the subject property. It's within that designation, and we feel like this application and the supporting master plan that will come along with it meets and underscores, supports the policies that are within this land use policy and the town's larger comprehensive planning policies. Just Haley stole my goal quote, so I won't reiterate that for you, but it encourages, as noted, a mix of uses and a combined access and circulation where you don't have just driveway after driveway, but sort of a uniform planned development with a high mix of uses and densities, and located really close to these two primary intersections and gateway to the town of Clayton. So consistent in that way with the future land use map. The zoning map, as she had pointed out, is our official zoning map calls for the residential estate, and we would be consistent with the surrounding land uses in the proposed rezoning designation to PD mixed use. The question was asked about the 42 West small area plan. As you can see within, this area is the subject property, which calls for, neighborhood retail and a mix of uses vertically and horizontally integrated with the site. I think as I'll get to in the next couple of slides, we propose land uses that are very consistent with that and with the goals of this small area plan, which do encourage that mix, those densities, walkability and connectivity, and some height in the appropriate places. Just wanted to also keep in mind, as most of you know, DOT has a future widening project through with the widening of DOT. We are impacted because we're along that frontage, and to the extent that it does impact our access and the TIA that Haley mentioned that's into DOT, we'll have 2 points of access, one a signalized intersection here adjacent to the hospital, and then off of Springbrook, a limited access driveway. We're constrained by that control of access that DOT has planned for this highway, but that's just a context of where we fall within that widening plan. Just a couple of things about the existing conditions very quickly and we can discuss as needed. She noted 68 acres, assemblage comprised of 4 parcels, 3 property owners with some existing ponds, existing tree cover that's shown here, and the relationships of the surrounding land uses. Again, this is the starting point of our master plan. I did one piece in the staff report just to underscore is the fact that the largest piece of this property was bisected by the construction of the 70 bypass back in 2008. So this piece that's south of the bypass is technically outside of that flume area, but we feel like there's adequate consistency with including this in the mixed use plan development, and our master plan beyond that goes further to designate that as a sort of moderate to lower density residential. So just a consistency to point out there. Just to sort of finalize our part of the presentation, this is the anticipated list of uses that we would anticipate in the project. Now, there's a wide variety of uses that are allowed within the code under these land use categories, but office, medical, retail and commercial, residential of a variety of moderate to medium density, and a hospitality use, as well as vertically integrated mix of uses in the appropriate places. As Haley noted, a TIA is in for review currently. We are in TRC with the staff, so the master plan portion that reflects the details about these uses is not fully baked out yet. But that is in, just resubmitted this past week, I believe, for that TRC response. And then we have not heard back from DOT, but we're working with them and through their recommendations for the widening and any improvements that are offsite to our property. With that, again, we appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. Our team is here and happy to answer any questions that you have, and we look forward to your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Are there any public comments to consider for this item? All right. If not, I will turn that over to the board for their consideration. Any comments from the board?
I just wanted to recuse myself from this vote. My firm's involved in the project.
Thank you. Board Member Teed will recuse himself from this one. Other comments from the board?
Just a comment, you know, I really like the mixed use concept, and something I think our community needs, and it seems to be the wave of the future, and I'm just glad to see this coming to Clayton. Appreciate your work on it. I really like it. It's in a great area. I think you couldn't be in a better spot right now for that type of use, and just commend you on a good plan.
Thank you. I did, as I was looking through the materials, to me, it lines up with the intent of that area, and that the small portion that's across the highway there, I think that that's not an issue for me either, just because of the fact that it's right there next to other high density. So I don't see that being a problem either. Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move approval.
Motion to approve by Board Member Bizzle. Is there a second? Second by Board Member Lipscomb. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. You all exit out the back door unless you want to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
That's true. Yeah, I should have said it like that.
County Lane's one that's been pushed back. The next one's been
Yes.
postponed, right?
Yep, they took that one off the agenda.
So we're going to Griffith.
Yep, Griffles. Okay, next item on the agenda is 6A, new business, Griffles WWTP Phase 2 Expansion Major Site Plan. We'll now hear from staff.
Haley Hoag, Senior Planner. This request is for Griffles Wastewater Treatment Plant Expansion Phase 2 Major Site Plan. They are requesting to upgrade their existing treatment plant on the site currently. And the site, or the treatment plant, is currently located internal to their campus, and their campus is located off of Highway 70 Business. It is zoned industrial light and is 71 acres total in size, but they are only disturbing 2.3 acres for this project. So with this project, they are proposing 2 new buildings, which will be about 9,600 square feet total in size. They are also proposing new tanks and basins. You can see on the site plan, the areas shaded in a darker gray are areas that they are adding that are currently not there right now. And then to the north, you can see the existing tanks on the site. No new employees are being added as a part of this expansion, and so therefore no additional parking is required or proposed. They are also proposing a 20 by 20 common area to the south, and that would be used as an amenity break area for the Griffles employees. The property is located in the watershed protection overlay, and they are limited because of that to 70% impervious. Right now, with this expansion, they would be at 63.72%. So they are within the required amount for that. And then no additional landscaping has been required, and they did not remove any landscaping from site. And it is worth mentioning that this site is not visible from the right-of-way, this portion of the site, so no buffering or screening was required for these tanks. These are the elevations of the buildings that they are proposing. They are made up of metal panels, and they are consistent with the other buildings internal to Grifols campus. They're not visible from the right-of-way, and you can see one of the buildings will have a covered equipment storage area, and these buildings do meet the requirements for the UDC. The proposed site plan is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan 2040, which designates the property as employment center, and that typically includes industrial and office uses. It is also consistent with the surrounding land uses, which are primarily industrial. And with that, staff is recommending approval of this major site plan, and I can answer any questions that you have, and the applicant's here as well.
Thank you so much. Any questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Hearing none, we can go ahead and call on the applicant. Oh, after we sanitize the space.
I always do that.
Looks like now we can hear from the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Jack Ritchie. I'm landscape architect with Dewberry Engineers, and I'm the one that we are applying for this major site plan on behalf of Grifols, who I have representing here today. Does anybody have any questions or expand upon anything?
Any questions for the applicant? Doesn't look like it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments to consider at this time? All right, hearing none, I will turn it over to the board for their consideration. Any comments from the board?
Town of Clayton and Johnston County is extremely fortunate to have Grifols. This expansion is on top of previous expansions of their site, and it has certainly benefited the economic development of this area of the county. And having said that, I'll move for approval.
Excellent. We have a motion to approve by Board Member Price. Is there a second? Second by Board Member Coates. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. I believe you can exit out of that door. Thank you, sir. Okay, next item on the agenda is 6B, new business shops at Glen Laurel, Lot 8 major site plan. We will now hear from staff.
Haley Hoag, Senior Planner. This request is for a major site plan for Lot 8 at Shops at Glen Laurel Mixed-Use Development. The applicant is proposing to develop 3 new commercial buildings on the property. The property is located internal to the master development, which is located at the corner of 42 and Glen Laurel Road, and it is zone plan development mixed use. And the overall property right now is 11.69 acres in size. The area disturbed is only 5.499, and it is worth mentioning that the area highlighted on this map shown on the slide, that lot does not currently exist today, but they will be doing a subdivision to create these lots prior to building permit in the future. So they are proposing 3 new commercial buildings. They will be 36,100 square feet in size, and they will include a mixture of retail, commercial, and restaurant uses. And the building to the furthest south, that will actually have a drive-through for potential restaurant use. They are proposing shared parking throughout the site. Since it is a mixed-use development, it is on one parcel, they are allowed to utilize shared parking, and it does meet the minimum parking requirements for our code. It is also consistent with the approved master plan, which the modification was approved last Monday night on the 17th by council. So it is consistent with that plan in terms of setbacks and design standards. And they are also adding internal sidewalks throughout the site in order to provide that connectivity to the residential uses and among the commercial uses. These are the architectural elevations of the buildings. They will be brick veneer, cement siding, and EIFS. They'll have decorative awnings and lighting, and they do meet the requirements of the EDC and also the architectural standards set in the master plan. The proposed site plan is consistent with the Comp Plan 2040 and also the surrounding land uses. And with that, staff is recommending approval, and I can answer any questions you might have for this one.
Thank you, Ms. Hoag. Any questions for staff?
Are we taking all these together or just one at a time?
Just one at a time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. We'll call upon the applicant. After we sanitize, sorry, one moment.
I'm not messing this stuff up.
Good evening, board members and staff. I'm Mark Ashness with the CE Group. We're the land planning civil engineer for the project. Kate Brown is here also. She's with the development team. And we're pleased to finally be in front of you. We just received the major subdivision approval and the rezoning last week from the council that sort of set this plan in place, although this piece of property was within the original boundaries of the PD. It's really in the center of the site. This, other than Lot 6, which is near the front entrance, which is a smaller retail building that's under construction right now, this is really our first area where we're going to have a multitude of shops out here that will be varying in size from, say, 1,200 square feet to even as large as 4,000 square feet based on the end user. We do anticipate quite a few restaurants in this, and we've parked the area to accommodate that. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you for your time. Are there any public comments on this matter? Hearing none, I will turn it over to the board for their consideration. Any comments from the board? I will say for my part, it seems like a good fit for that area. It just continues to grow out there, and this just sort of, in my mind, rounds it out, brings some commercial development in there with a lot of that residential, and I see a lot of great things that could possibly go in there down the road. Any other comments? And if not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve.
Board Member Bizzle, a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second that.
Is that Board Member Powers? Nope, who said it? Sorry. Oh, over here. Thank you, Board Member Avery. So hard to tell. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. And if you want to exit, you can go out that back door there. Oh, yeah, you're not going anywhere. Our next item on the agenda is 6C, new business, shops at Glen Laurel Daycare Major Site Plan, and we'll now hear from staff.
Sharon Sharp, planner with the Town of Clayton, here to present to you the Shops at Glen Laurel Lot 2 major site plan for a daycare. As you've seen before, the Shops at Glen Laurel is a planned development, and if you look at the aerial, you'll see that this lot has been carved out based on the approval last week for a modification of that master plan. This site is it's a little over 2 acres, and they're proposing to build a 13,000 square foot daycare. The property is located off of Glen Laurel and Highway 42 East here in the town of Clayton. This is a image of the site plan. They have received TR certification. There will be 2 structures on the site. There will be a 13,000 square foot daycare building. It will accommodate about 250 children and about 23 staff. The other structure to the northeast is a dumpster. They have complied with all the parking requirements. As you can see, they have 55 parking spaces, including 3 that are handicapped. There are 3 stop drop-off stalls to the south of the building, and the property does have some right-of-way frontage, and so therefore, because of that, they have complied with all landscaping requirements based on the code for their mechanical screening, as well as putting a fenced-in area for the playground at the rear of the property. These are the architectural elevations. The structures will be brick masonry, as you can see on all 3 sides, with stone accents. These structures do meet the Unified Development Code requirements. It is consistent with the comp plan for 2040 as a daycare in this neighborhood center area mixed use. Staff recommends approval of this major site plan for a daycare on Lot 2. If you have any questions, I am available to answer those.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Any questions for staff? Okay, thank you. We can go ahead and call on the applicant. Oh, after we sanitize.
Good evening again, board members, staff. Mark Ashness with the C Group. We have Jeff Smith here tonight. Jeff is the owner of the daycare. This will be their 6th daycare in the sort of the metro area. Kate Brown with the development of the project is also in attendance. Sharon did a good job of explaining what we're doing here. We do have pedestrian connectivity via sidewalk back to the internal part of the center, and we also have it to the multi-use trail on Briarcliff Drive to the going out to the west. So this is adjacent to Glen Laurel Road. The State Employees Credit Union is just north of that, and there's many stores just to the south, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments on this matter? None. I will turn it over to the board for their consideration. Any comments from the board? If not, I will entertain a motion.
This is a comment and a motion, Madam Chairman. I was looking at the rear elevation of the building, and it's really nice to see windows. It doesn't look like a typical rear view from a building, so really like the building elevations. And with that, I move approval.
Thank you. Board Member Bizzle made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Board Member Price. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Let's see.
Ready to paint off this podium.
Next item on the agenda is 6D, the Shops at Glen Laurel Assisted and Independent Living Major Site Plan, and we'll now hear from staff.
And Sharon Sharp, planner for the town of Clayton, here to present to you the Shops at Glen Laurel Lot 10 major site plan. This is a request to develop a 60-bed assisted living facility as well as a 80 independent living structure on the property. As you can see, this property is located internally to the Shops at Glen Laurel master plan development. Mixed use off of Glen Laurel and Highway 42. It's just over 6.5 acres. Applicants are proposing to put 2 buildings that will be attached. As you can see here, the square footage is about 37,000 square feet for the assisted portion of the structure and about 78,000 square feet for the independent. It is proposed that the independent living facility will be 3 stories and the assisted living facility be 1 story. There is an internal courtyard for those people who are unable to reach the town of Clayton Park, which is located to the south. They were certified by staff internally in all other departments in terms of the engineering and public utilities. They are proposing to put sidewalks as well as they have a portico in the front of the building, which is a nice view you'll see on the architectural to the site as you enter off of Briarcliff Drive. They are going to install an additional structure on the site, which will be a dumpster and a trash compactor, and it will in fact match the architectural elevations of the main buildings. As you can see here to the picture to the west, you will see the entrance that you'll see as you enter the site off of Briarcliff Drive and pictures of the rear of the buildings as well. It will be constructed of brick and combination of brick and hardy plank with stone accents to match it, and it does meet the UDC requirements. As I stated, this is a part of the Shops at Glen Laurel Master Plan, and it is consistent with the 2040 and additional surrounding areas, as you can see on the site. Staff recommends approval of this major site plan for the Shops at Glen Laurel. If you have any questions, I am here to answer.
I have one, I don't see it, it may be in here, but I see it. It's 80 independent living units.
80 independent and 66.
I'm sorry, I overlooked that. And the parking is enough for those plus the others?
They do have 140 parking spaces. 76 of those are handicap accessible with additional shared parking spaces for visitors and other people that potentially will be coming to the site. In addition, I did not mention on this project as well as the other one that is going to come up, they will have access to get those people who are available to walk down to the town of Clayton Park on the site.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Any other questions for staff? Okay. We will sanitize and then call upon the applicant.
Good evening again, board members and staff. Mark Ashnes with the C Group. Again, Kate Brown with the Master Development Team behind me. We're excited about this project. We originally were looking at the planning out here. These were two separate buildings. So again, they were going to be on separate lots originally, and then we came with the idea of merging them together. And so the area in the middle between the assisted living is on the east side or the right-hand side of the map that you're looking at. The area where the porte-cochere is, that's a central area that's shared by both the independent living and assisting living. There's food service in that area in addition to other common area for their enjoyment. As Sharon mentioned, there's internal courtyards on the assisted living side. We also have some balconies on the independent living side. From a standpoint of looking at the center, our goal really is to make this feel like it's seamless going from here to Lot 8 to the retail shops and then other connectivity, which includes the multi-use trail to your park site that's located on the next project we're going to talk about. I'll be glad to answer any other questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant? Board Member Bizzle.
Mark, I assume, just for the record, there will be a cross-access agreement recorded for all these.
That's correct. The roads in here and the storm drainage and all of those things are commonly shared as a maintenance aspect, and so all of these drives have common share. We actually have about 40 extra spaces on this specific site per your code, above your code.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Any public comments to consider? Okay, we will turn it over to the board for their comments. Any comments from the board?
I have a comment. The shops at Glen Laurel have been referred to, advertised, and promoted as a shopping center for the past 5 years. Addressing this item, last week's council meeting, the comment was made that this sort of thing, an assisted living and an independent living, is needed in Clayton. The only thing I would say about that is it's not needed, in my opinion, at a shopping center. This is supposed to be a shopping center, and this is one thing that does not fit there, in my opinion. That's all.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments from the board? I guess for my part, I hear where you're coming from. I do know that from my perspective, it fits the population center out there, and I kind of like the idea personally of the blend of residential, commercial, and then the different stages of life. My 2 cents. Hearing no other comments, I will entertain a motion.
I move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Board Member Moore. Is there a second? Second by Board Member Lipscomb. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
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 The ayes have it. Let's see, we had a no from Board Member Powers and a no. Was there another no?
Board Member Moore.
Oh, Board Member Moore. Okay. So motion carries.
Correct.
Did I get that wrong? Did you make the motion?
I made the motion.
Sorry. Okay. So hard to tell. I apologize. So the motion to approve was Board Member Bizzle. All right, the next item on the agenda is 6E, the Shops at Glen Laurel Apartments Major Site Plan, and we'll now hear from staff.
Sorry. Sharon Sharp, planner, Town of Clayton, here to present to you Shops at Glen Laurel, Lot 9. This is major site plan for a proposed apartment complex. As you know, based on the aerial photo here, this location is a part of the Shops at Glen Laurel Master Plan Development Mixed Use. This is about 6.6 acres of land. The proposal is to construct 2 apartment buildings that are each going to be about 87,000 square feet for a total of 24 2-bedroom units in each building and about 38 one-bedroom apartment units in each building as well. The building will be 4 stories. They have complied with the code requirements in terms of parking, and that includes about 234 parking spaces, which is 44 visitor spaces. The only other structure they're proposing to have on the site is a clubhouse that will have a pool. Based on what we reviewed for the site plan, that clubhouse will have amenities such as a grill area, and there will be an additional area of lawn with potential to have a dog park moving down the road. They have complied with all of the Unified Development Code requirements for landscaping and screening by also providing 3 bike racks that are strategically located on your site plan throughout the site, with 2 at the south portion of the property so that whomever would like to ride the bike as they go down towards the Town of Clayton Park, they will be able to do that. This site plan is consistent with the master plan for the Shops at Glen Laurel. And here are the architectural elevations that are brick and stone. It is consistent with the comp plan for proposed apartment complex and consistent with the compatible area. Staff does recommend approval of the apartments for Lot 9 at the Shops of Glen Laurel. If you have any questions, I am available to answer those.
Here on the plans is a clubhouse. I see a pool.
It's in the middle, in the north part of the site plan. It is like right here, if you see where I'm moving.
That says pool there.
Yes, the clubhouse is right here, and then that's the pool, and then the additional lawn.
I still don't see a building on the plans.
You're not seeing it on your version of the plans?
I don't see a building on the plans in the middle there. I see a lawn and a pool. If right north of the pool or whatever that is, if that's the building, it's a really smaller than the pool. Point out where the building is again. You look to me like you were pointing out the pool.
It's right
Oh, that's
at
smaller
the
than the
north
pool.
of the pool.
Smaller than the pool.
I'd be happy to address that when you want me to speak. I can show you exactly where.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Any other questions for staff? Okay, then after we sanitize, we can, oh, go ahead.
Yes, I have one. There's already a considerable number of apartments that are completed out there. I couldn't tell from my online package, how many more is this going to add to those?
From the apartment complex that has been approved prior to this?
Yes, approved and built out there.
Oh, previous.
This is 174.
I missed it. Thank you, Bucky.
So the previous was 240.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. We will now call upon the applicant. Oh, after we sanitize.
Maybe last time.
Thank you. This is the last time. Good evening, board members and staff. Mark Ashness with the CE Group. Hearing a few of the questions here raised, I think it might be helpful if you follow the council meeting last week. This area in the comp plan is actually designated as high-density residential neighborhood commercial, so it has that overlay on it. So the high-density residential in a PD would allow for a density of up to 12 units per acre, I believe is correct. We're actually a little under 10 units per acre with that, with what we've proposed with these additional units here. These units are a little different. What you see out there today are the garden-style apartments, which you see pretty much, in Clayton today and in other growing areas here in the suburbs. These particular apartments are actually going to be a little more urban feeling. And the question you had, sir, was a great question. The actual amenity exercise areas and some other common areas are actually in each building. They're in line in the apartments. So the two long linear buildings that you see, in the center of each of those buildings, there's actually additional exercise and social space. So the building that's on the plan that's between the two buildings at the north end is just the pool house itself and some bathrooms, and then there's a pool there. There's some cookout area as well. So the other amenities are actually built into the building itself. So, we're excited. Obviously, economic times are a little different than they were even 2 years ago, but we know that the shops that we've now proposed on Lot 8 that you've approved, the existing retail on Lot 6 that's under construction right now, the additional retail we're going to be submitting this month on Lot 11 are all going to be appreciative of the rooftops around the project and certainly the walkable rooftops within the project. The garden apartments have been leased up very easily. As you know, there's a lot of growth and business demand that's happening in that area. And so we feel comfortable that this type of apartment, although different from the garden style apartments, will be a really nice play, and it's also sort of closer to the core of the other areas where the shops are. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Pardon?
I'm struggling seeing the amenity you talk about.
Yes, so on each side of the building in the middle, there's a common access point. You can see, so basically, if you look at the two buildings, they're running sort of north-south, right? And if you'll see halfway down each building, there's sort of an inset, and that is actually the entrance to the building. So you have an entrance from the common courtyard in the middle, and you have an entrance from the parking on each side. And off of those are other amenity areas to serve that. So they're in line with that space when you come in.
I don't see one. When I see an elevator room,
We've got a floor plan. Can you point out where those amenities are? Maybe she can put that up.
This is one side. I apologize. So this is one of the buildings, and the other footprint has that space in it. So this is the first and second floor of that. I would need to produce another map from our architecture.
Said earlier that there was amenities in both buildings,
I believe it's just on one side, sir.
in one building.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you have that floor plan with you?
I do not. I apologize. That's architectural's, but I can certainly share that floor plan with the staff.
I'm just looking at the staff report here, just correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at the categories that are considered there. And I didn't see interior amenities as part of that. Am I missing something? Is that something we typically see on these site plans? Indoor amenity space?
Good evening, Samantha Woolen-Weber, Planning Director. Generally, we do review the outside of the buildings. We don't look at the particular floor plans. We do discuss amenities such as the pool and the clubhouse. But as far as the actual layout of the inside and where the different units are located, any sort of riser room, I assume anything like that, it's not something that is under consideration for a major site plan. You would be looking at parking, landscaping, architectural elevations, consistency with the surrounding area, landscaping, different things like that.
Thank you, because I was just looking here, I know they cover there under that, kind of that last category in the staff report of architecture and design is where they talk about the pool and the barbecue area and the future potential dog park. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
The staff report confused me because it said 2 apartment buildings and 1 clubhouse. And then now we're finding that all the amenities are in one of the buildings. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
I see. So maybe that could have said pool house.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's see, any other questions for staff or the applicant? Any public comment to consider on this matter? Hearing none, I will turn it over to the board for their consideration. Yes, sir.
I have a comment. The original plan for the shops at Glen Laurel and the Pines effectively split the Hunt property, the east section for residential and the west section for a shopping center. Current changes will effectively cut the retail acreage on the shopping center side of the property to slightly more than 1/3 of the total acreage. This is not what was intended in the original agreement approved by the town of Clayton.
Thank you for your comment. I was looking through, because you brought that up last time as well, and I was just looking through for my own knowledge, but it looks like everything here meets the overlay in terms of the mixed use and not just having retail.
Right, so it is a plan development mixed use, and then the master plan that was modification that was approved at the town council meeting allows for a multitude of different uses, and as long as those mixture of uses are within the confines of that master plan that was modified last Monday night, then it is, it's a major site plan approval, which is technically an administrative level, and it does meet all of the requirements and is TRC certified. So it would not have come before the board tonight unless it did meet the master plan mixture of uses.
Okay.
I can accept that, and I would go back to the first statement that I made.
Right.
That for the last 5 years, everything that has been advertised or referred to or promoted by the town or by anything else that I've heard has referred to a shopping center. And obviously at this point, if only 1/3 of the land is going to be retail, it's not like any shopping center that I've seen. And at the moment, we have 1 4-slot store retail area being built. Now, all this is proposed now, but everything's been standing out there for 5 years. And nothing's been done. And now over that 5 years, it has morphed into, now it's a mixed use. We can put anything that we want to out here. And everybody in the area has heard for 5 years, there's going to be a shopping center at the corner. And that's not the case. I just wanted to mention that. So.
When the master plan was originally approved, it was a much larger scale bubble plan, and it had pretty much 3 sections. And then last week, the master plan modification was much more detailed, because in the year since this was originally approved, we have required a lot more for master plan. So that's why there's a lot more detail now than there was when the original one was approved. And technically a mixed use, and like I did state before, it is within the allowed mixture of uses. Maybe it being called either it was originally called Glen Laurel Mixed Use is what we referred to it in-house. And then now it is referred to the shops at Glen Laurel, so that may also could create some confusion. But again, there is a Goodwill that's being built out there. There is another multi-tenant space that's near the front, near 42 East, the bank, and then the other sites that were under review tonight, which was 4 sites. And last week, the master plan also had the addition of that land that some of these sites are on tonight. So, but thank you for your comments. I certainly understand.
I agree with that explanation, but the storage, the credit union, things like that cannot really be considered retail. And that's why I was saying that only 1/3 of the area out there is going to be used for retail, and especially, much more especially, the residential stuff. That's why the eastern part was put in there, was to handle all the residential. And now it's going over, and 50% of that is being added into the other section.
I understand.
And I want to piggyback off that, because I've sat here tonight and just trying to figure out, in contemporary mixed-use developments, as you travel around the state, this has more of the old strip shopping center conceptualization than the modern mixed use. Because I was trying to envision, and just looking around the state as I travel, but locally, as you look at North Hills or Midtown East off of Wake Forest Road, pretty new mixed-use developments, and you look at all the uses you see here, and I've looked at modern mixed-use developments where we try to be more contemporary. You got a storage complex, a daycare center that's larger than my daughter's Catholic school at 250, a nursing home, like you said, the Goodwill store. And I'm just trying to conceptualize in modern mixed uses what's going on in neighboring communities that are trying to grow and be progressive. And this takes me back 30, 40 years, the old shopping centers versus the contemporary mixed-use developments where you had the continuity of commercial and retail trying to attract prosperity and growth in a community. So I've just been confused on the whole concept, especially since from the concept that you had this upscale project called Glen Laurel, and one of the first completed buildings was a storage complex. It's kind of thrown me from the beginning in my year and a half. So I understand your concern of your longevity on the commission. So I've been concerned about all the uses all along in every project tonight, from the daycare to the nursing home, or we can say assisted living. I've just been confused. What is the use? I can't think of a modern, if you travel around the state, of anything that's built in the last 5 years on a large plot of land that's called mixed use. I've never seen so many different uses within a mixed use. That's just my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the board? Yes.
Just a comment. I think we all wanted to see a grocery store anchored tenant here when this first came through 5 years or so. I know I did. And I think that we all thought that was going to happen. And Unfortunately, it didn't. I do know that this developer has gone to great lengths to try to recruit an anchor tenant, you know, the grocery store, if you will. And it just didn't happen. And I think this is not maybe what we all envisioned, but I think it's the sign of the times. It's a real mixed-use development now. I mean, I think as you said, you know, it is a really real mixed-use development, but it's probably a sign of the times a little bit too. But I do know, you know, it's not what we intended to see, but I think it's the best use available at this point, and it's really probably, I guess you could probably say, more market-driven than anything at this time. And with the master plan being revised and approved last Monday night with council, you know, I will vote to approve it.
Marty, the shop at the grocery store materialized, but it was a little bit further east.
I would agree with Mr. Boozle, and as a former resident of the Glen Laurel area and everything, we were all excited out there at that time about the major grocery store that was coming out there, but it didn't happen, you know, and I agree that with Mr. Boozle that I think from what we got at the end, it's still a pretty good project. It's a really nice project. Thank you.
It's good to hear all these varied comments. I think it really reflects a lot of the things that I hear out in town, and, you know, everyone kind of has their different way of looking at this sort of development. And like I said earlier on, to me, I guess it's maybe where I'm at in life. This seems like a great use because you can kind of meet all the different needs of just the typical life cycle there in one area. And I like the kind of variability there for different ages and stages of life and all that. So anyway, it's good discussion though. And these are the kinds of opinions you're hearing out in town, you know, depending on who you talk to. Anything else to go with this topic? Okay, hearing no other comments, I can take a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve, but I would like to add one condition that that the planning department make sure that there's enough amenities, and we now have 414 units, so apartments out there, and I just want to make sure that these 174 have enough amenities in there. My full plan don't indicate that.
This is a major site plan, so it cannot be conditioned. It sits how it sits. You cannot condition a major site plan. Only a quasi judicial hearing can you condition.
Let's see, maybe Board Member Coates, would you like to just state your interest in them looking into that, but then make the motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion to approve by Board Member Coates. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Sorry, who was that?
That's me again.
Oh, thank you. Board Member Avery is our second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
We have a no from Board Member Powers. Motion carries. Our last item on the agenda for this evening is informal discussion and public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time? Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Board Member Powers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Price. And any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Jeff is getting things signed.
I feel like I had to relearn everything all over again.
Everything down, we're good.
They'll clean it and disinfect it tonight.
I know you all are probably heard too, because it's quite a bit.
It looks like it has a knob, but.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Good to see you. You too.
Thank you for keeping me straight.
Times. You're up, who said what when everyone's got a mask on? It was difficult.
Well, and then the weird thing was, I don't know if you could tell, sometimes someone would randomly move towards the microphone right at that moment.
Like, two people were going to second one.
I know,
It's like,
and I'm like, wait, I know that's not your voice, but you're the one who caught my eye.
Always a good idea to say, you raise your hand. Like, was that you? Yes.
Yeah, but that's a really good idea. Maybe I'll say that next time.
Yeah.
They could like raise their
I mean, I think when we had